travelers, and welcome to Go See Do Explore.
Here we dive deep into the world of travel, sharing practical tips, can't-miss experiences, and the insights to help you make the most of every trip.
Whether you're a seasoned explorer or just starting to plan your next getaway, you're in the right place to get inspired and equipped.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And together, we'll help you chart your next adventure, discover what to see and do, and share the stories that bring each place to life.
It's time to go, see, and do more. Let's explore. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Go See Do Explore podcast. We are here to talk about another little kind of long weekend trip we took recently. This time we were visiting the Finger Lakes region of Western New York.
Yes.
And I wanted to start off with just an overview of the area, like why do people visit there? First of all, I guess I want to say I frequently talk about the 50-state challenge and how I want to visit all 50 states. And I feel like a lot of times in that challenge, people, maybe challenge isn't the right word, but people with that goal a lot of times visit New York City and ignore the rest of the state. And there is so much more beauty in New York.
Yeah, it's weird actually if you look at a map. This is every time we go there, I'm fascinated by this, that New York City is so much farther south than the vast majority of New York State. It's crazy actually that New York City is in New York State, because if you drew a line on the map, you'd think it would be in, I don't know, like Pennsylvania or New Jersey or something like that. It's funny. But we really like the Finger Lakes and especially the Seneca Lake area and Watkins Glen, which is where we went.
Yeah, and coming from Michigan, I think it was like a 7-hour drive from Southeast Michigan.
Yep.
Which, I mean, is a long drive for a weekend, but we figured for a long weekend, it would still give us enough time to explore the area. And I should also mention that this was our third time in this area. So it's obviously a place that we really enjoy and we seek to go back to. And we've been planning this trip for several years and kept pushing it back and pushing it back.
Yes, we finally went.
Yes. There's a lot of natural beauty in this area. There's waterfalls everywhere. Obviously, there are lakes. They call them the Finger Lakes because if you look on a map of New York, they're like long and skinny.
Yes.
Glacially formed lakes. And so there's a lot of outdoor recreation in the area. And then there's these cool little small towns. Ithaca, New York is home to Cornell University. Ever heard of it? And it is at the base of Cayuga Lake, which is on the eastern end of the Finger Lakes. There's just, it's one of those places. Obviously, it's a huge area. It's not like visiting a small town. You can drive and see all kinds of places, and we've only barely scratched the surface. So,
yeah, we've spent most of our time in the trips we've taken between Seneca area, Cayuga area, and Keuka area. Those are different lakes. And then also we have been to Oneida, which is a little bit farther north and east towards Syracuse.
And we've spent some time in Corning as well, which is not on one of the lakes, but it's one of the bigger. Would you say it's one of the bigger cities in the area?
Yeah, definitely. It's about 25 minutes from Watkins Glen, which is at the south end of Seneca Lake.
And Corning is home to the Corning company, like Corningware, Pyrex.
Yeah, right. Corning is based in Corning, New York. They no longer actually own Corningware or Pyrex or any of those brands. Yeah, they sold them off a while ago. But yes, they still make a ton of industrial glass for all sorts of applications. They also have participated in things like fiberglass, like lots of construction materials. I'm sure like defense and aerospace, you name it. It's a big industry.
So our first night, we decided to get a head start. And we stopped on the way at Geneva State Park in Ohio, which is right on Lake Erie. And if it was warmer and we had more time, I think it's probably a cool little beach town.
Yeah, that was a nice state park. There wasn't really much there. We weren't expecting a lot to be there, but it was perfect for just stopping and quick camping. The only negative for our experience there was it had just downpoured for hours and hours. And so basically, the whole campground was a mud pit. You can't really fault them for that. That's just
better drainage.
Yeah, but probably just the nature of that land being right on Lake Erie. Like, I don't know how much you could do. But the nice thing, and maybe they have accounted for this, because all of the sites were on concrete pads.
That's true, yeah.
So it was, or maybe it was asphalt, but whichever, it was pavement. So we didn't have to take the truck or the camper off of the pavement, which was really nice for that scenario. We didn't want to spend any time like walking around the campsite though, because it was basically a mud pit.
Yeah, there was no sitting around the fire.
I think the the fire pit was actually full of 3 inches of water.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so after that first night, we left Geneva State Park and we headed to Watkins Glen State Park, which we have camped there before. And it's one of those places where if you don't mind a rustic site, they're not that hard to come by.
Yeah,
I'm sure we were there for Memorial Weekend and I didn't book it. I don't know. I think they book out like 9 months in advance or something like that. We didn't book it that early.
Yeah, there were a ton of sites, not just available. There are a ton of campsites in that campground. So they have really good availability. This is an amazing campground. The sites themselves and like the facilities, the restrooms, things like that, it's nothing special, but it's more than adequate. Some of them are more wooded than others. Some of them are more private than others. But what you get is very close proximity to this amazing natural feature, the Glen at Watkins Glen, this gorge, which I'm sure we're going to talk more about, right?
Yeah, we could probably segue right into that if you'd like.
Sure.
So the highlight, I would say, of Watkins Glen State Park is the Watkins Glen State Park Gorge Trail. It might not sound like anything if you've never seen the pictures, but I should mention that the first time we stopped here, this had been on like my bucket list for 15 years at that point.
Yeah.
When I first got Flickr, remember Flickr, the like social media site for photography.
It was before it was, because then Flickr became part of Yahoo, and then
somebody shared a picture of the Angel Falls, I think it's called Angel Falls, along this Gorge Trail. And I was like, I don't know where that is, but I need to go there. And then we were taking a road trip to Maine, and I realized that it wouldn't have been that far out of our way to make a stop at this place. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing. This Gorge Trail, is it like 1.5 miles, 2 miles long?
Oh, it's about that. Yeah, I think it's less than 2 in one direction. I think it's maybe almost 2.
And in the span of this 2 mile trail, it's just like everywhere you turn is absolutely breathtaking. You go around a corner and there's a waterfall. You walk a little farther, go around another corner, there's another waterfall. And it's just absolutely stunning. It's unreal. It's unbelievable if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite hikes. I think one of our favorite hikes. What was cool about the campground too is the very site we were at. There is a trail from the campground down to this gorge trail. And we were in the Onondaga loop. And what's cool in that loop is there is a path right down to the gorge. And the last time we stayed in that campground, we were also in that loop. But I didn't want to use that path to get to the gorge trail because I thought, oh, you're going to miss out on part of the gorge trail. And that's true. But what was really cool this time, when our campsite was literally right at the trail, early in the morning, one of the mornings, I walked down just to the gorge trail. It's a big hill. It's not very far, but it's a big hill. But I was the only one down there, and I spent, I don't know, probably 20 minutes just hanging out on this gorge trail, which gets very busy later in the day with no one, just me and the waterfalls and stuff. It was really awesome. What I learned later, though, that would change my recommendation a little bit potentially, when we hiked this, we started from Jacob's Ladder, which is a very typical starting point. And I felt like within 5 minutes of walking, we were at that trail that comes down from the campground. So there really wasn't actually much. If you're a completionist like me, you could even probably just walk up to where the Jacob's Ladder trail starts and then walk back down. It wouldn't be much to do that, I don't think. So I assumed that trail cut in much farther down than it does. So starting from the campground, I would recommend if you're staying at the campground.
And one thing that's cool, if you're visiting in season, which I think is Memorial Day to Labor Day, they offer a shuttle for, I think it's $5 a person or something like that.
Yeah.
And so if you're staying at the campground, you can hike down to the town to meet the shuttle, and they'll take you back up to that Jacob's Ladder, and you could do the 5-minute walk to the campground. So it's a really nice way, because otherwise I think it would be a lot. Some people do it. They start at the bottom, they go up, and then they go back down. But I don't think you have to do that to fully experience the trail.
No, I felt like actually when we were hiking this past time, most of the people that we encountered had started at the base, which kind of surprised me. I guess when you go in that direction, you see it all, like all the waterfalls and all that are in front of you. So it's maybe more scenic.
I feel like it's designed to do that. But just when I did our research originally, if you start at Jacob's Ladder, you're going down the whole time.
It's a big drop.
And if you start at the bottom, you're going up. I don't know how many stairs. There was a sign that said how many stairs. but it's just a lot easier to go down.
Yeah.
And one thing that's cool when you go down, so you mentioned that going up, you get everything opens up to you. It's like, I think the trail was designed to walk that way. And so it's very like, it visually tells a story. But when you go down, it's almost like everything is a surprise.
Yeah.
It's, oh, I hear some water rushing. What is it? What's it going to be? And then you get there, it's, oh, that's really cool. We're walking under a waterfall.
Yeah.
This like massive waterfall.
Yes.
If you're someone that doesn't mind a 2-mile hike up, I don't know how many hundreds of stairs, that's an option. But if you want to make it a little easier, you could definitely just go down.
Yeah, it's what we've done both times, and I think we have no regrets about that.
So something else that we've done in this area that's one of my favorite things is the Corning Museum of Glass.
Yes, this is a good museum.
I would say this is probably one of my favorite museums in the country. And what I realized this time, one thing that makes this museum very interesting is it's a blend of an art museum, a history museum, and a science museum, all through the lens of glass, which, I don't know, if you're not super into glass blowing like I am, maybe it's not that interesting to you. But I just think it's a really interesting lens to view art, science, and history.
Yeah. I think glass is interesting to most people. I'd hope so anyway. But it's a huge museum with, like you said, tons of historical artifacts, modern art glass, and yeah, all the stuff from the Corning lab where they worked out how to do all these crazy things with glass and with the material that is Pyrex. And the other thing that's really cool there is they have a theater, and in the summer too, they also do outdoor demonstrations. So you have multiple places where you can see glass blowing and glass making happening, which if you haven't watched, it's really fun.
They also are involved in a Netflix show. I think it takes place in that hot glass arena or whatever, the hot glass shop that you can observe, and it's called Blown Away. So if you are interested in art glass and glass blowing, that's a way to get your feet wet before you visit the museum. And they also, probably one of my favorite things about this museum is that you can make your own glass. They have a studio where you can do glass blowing. You can do flame working, so you make something that's smaller. There's fused glass and sandblasting, which sandblasting, the first time we went, we didn't book far enough in advance. Because if you do want to do some sort of glass blowing, that's obviously very popular and it does fill up. So you need to book your spot in advance. So we did sandblasting, and I was like irritated that we only got to do sandblasting.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. So they give you like a glass or like a glass bowl or something like that. You tape it off, and then you go into the sandblasting machine, and it like makes it frosted. So it was really fun. And we have since done some of the more complicated. We did some flame working. We made pendants, and I actually made a hand-blown glass flower that was really cool.
Yes.
So
the other thing I'll say is that Corning itself is a really cool town. So if you're going to come down to the Corning Museum of Glass, there's lots of cool places to eat and hang out there. There's a restaurant in particular that we really love called Wild Ginger that's like a fusion place. We were planning on going there on this trip, but there was some event happening downtown Corning, and it was a total zoo, so we bailed. Next time, we'll be back.
Yes, next time. And honestly, Watkins Glen is a cool town too. That's fun to walk around and see some things. A town that we checked out this time is called Montour Falls, and it's a really small town. So Corning, and I would even say Watkins Glen, are bigger than Montour Falls. But what was cool to me about Montour Falls was just the way this town was laid out. So you start walking, or you drive your car down Main Street, and at the end of the Main Street, there is an enormous waterfall. And in front of said waterfall is someone's house.
Yeah, many houses actually.
Yeah. And then to the left of that house, there's a little park, and you can go view the waterfall. But like, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
That your house has a waterfall view. I don't think there's a checkbox for that on Zillow.
No.
And there should be.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a cool town.
Yeah, there were a lot of other kind of roadside waterfalls in this town too. And I think that's pretty common all over the Finger Lakes.
Yes.
All right, before we get too far, we should probably take a wine break.
Okay, let's go to the wine break. We're here for the wine break, and we have a special wine with us. This is, you can see it still bubbling here. This is from a winery called Atwater Vineyards. And it is a pet nat, or Pétillant Naturel. My French pronunciation is not good. But this is a really interesting kind of sparkling wine. I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast before either. There are many ways of making sparkling wine. Should we try it and then I can bore everyone? Let's try it first. Okay, let's try it.
Should we clink?
We have our flutes.
Yes.
This is a classy, fancy wine, so that's really good.
The thing that's just so fascinating to me is like the color of this. It looks like grapefruit, right? Mm-hmm. And it tastes like grapefruit.
It does, which is really interesting and not necessarily typical of a pet nat. Like just this one happens to have a really strong grapefruit kind of a flavor. So pet nat is one of many ways of making sparkling wine. It is one of the least common ways of making sparkling wine these days because it is a little bit unwieldy, unpredictable, hard to do in bulk. So usually with sparkling wine, you make a still wine and then you make it sparkling by some secondary method. There are a bunch of different secondary methods. There's what they do in champagne. There's what they do with Prosecco. We won't go into those because I could go on for a long time. But keep in mind, it's almost always a secondary method. With pet nat, this is what they call method ancestral, which is basically when fermentation is not quite done, they bottle. They put it in bottles like this that are meant to hold pressure, and basically the wine force carbonates itself because there's escaping CO2 from the yeast, and normally that just goes off and evaporates or whatever, but in a bottle like this, it stays, the pressure builds, and you get bubbles. Just like with champagne, that's how champagne works too. But again, that's a second process. So that means that there are some lees in here. The dead yeast is in here. And the amount of CO2 that they would have produced is not super predictable. It's somewhat predictable, but it's just more of a kind of a wild process. And it leaves this wine that can be really dramatically different, even bottle to bottle potentially. And so it's become a wine lover's darling because it's really interesting, right? Like it's not a highly commercial wine. It's a very old way of making this kind of a wine. And so it has that kind of a novelty factor, but it's also really tasty.
Yeah, and this one is just so crazy. The server that we had was talking about how you could make this to make a really interesting mimosa or whatever. I think it's interesting, and I would hate to ruin it.
Yeah.
And put fruit in it or juice in it. But yeah, it's so unlike anything that you find. Yeah, it's unlike any other pet nat I've ever had. It's crazy.
Yes. I said Paloma, too, would be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got that grapefruit flavor already. So that would really work. Atwater we'll mention in our upcoming segment when we talk about the wineries that we went to, but Atwater is close to Watkins Glen. It's in the southeast corner of Seneca Lake. And so, yeah, you should definitely go if you're in that area.
Yeah, and try the pet nat.
The pet nat.
Oh, they also have one that is force carbonated, and it's called Bubble Riesling. That's really cool.
Yeah, this is something. So in most wine regions, if you say something is force carbonated, that's like the worst way to make a sparkling wine, like run it through a soda stream. Not literally a soda stream. Like obviously this is big professional grade equipment, but that's essentially what you're doing, right? Like similar to the way you would carbonate pop, soda, whatever. But for whatever reason, we've had a few force carbonated wines in the Finger Lakes that really work. Like I don't know why, it just really works there. It does not taste cheap or low quality. Like it gives it a very interesting texture and really refreshing. We really like it there.
Yeah. Definitely check out Atwater and its unique bubbles.
That's right. Okay, good wine break.
Speaking of wine, another popular thing to do in this area is wineries.
Yes.
There are so many wineries around all of these lakes.
No surprise that we're talking about this.
This is one of the reasons I will say that we really enjoyed this area.
It's one of our favorite wine regions. And it is a cool climate region. And so in some respects, it's a lot like Michigan, which is a region, obviously, that we love and talk about all the time. So maybe I'm saying this wrong based on my Michigan bias. But all I'm saying is that it's a similar cool climate region that we really love, just like we love here. And so it's fun to explore everything that's going on there.
So the first winery that we visited on this trip is called Atwater, and it is the one that was just featured in the wine break.
Yes.
And it is on the south end of Seneca Lake. So if you are staying in Watkins Glen, it's very close.
Yeah, this one is really close to that area, very accessible.
And they just have an absolutely beautiful property overlooking
They really
the lake.
do. Yeah, they have lakefront property and they're up on a hill, but their vineyard goes all the way down to the water, which is very cool.
So we'll move on to one of the pioneering wineries in the Finger Lakes region, and that is Weimar.
Yes, Weimar has been around a long time. And so with that, I believe, comes a place that will be very traditional for the Finger Lakes. They have a lot of the grapes that you would associate most with the Finger Lakes. For white, that would be Riesling. For red, that would be Blaufränkisch or Lemberger. They have some newer, more innovative stuff too, but it's more of a traditional experience there. Very high quality wine. And yeah, that was a fun tasting. I actually really liked their tasting format. It was a little bit overwhelming at first, just because they basically give you a list of wines, and then there are prices for the different sizes of carafes that they'll bring you of those wines, from like very small 1 or 2 servings to a regular wine carafe. And so what you do is if you're there with 2 people or you're there with 4 people, you figure out how much wine you want to drink. And then you can order very small carafes of a lot of wines, or you can order larger carafes of a few. It was overwhelming at first, but that kind of a flexibility was really fun. I feel like we got to try a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And it was, since we had a bigger group too, I think it made it a little bit more flexible. If you were traveling, this would be a winery that would honestly be a little tricky if you were by yourself.
That's true. Yeah. I guess just go there and then take a nap. But yeah, that was pretty cool. My one disappointment with this, and this is totally on me, because Riesling is one of the grapes that they're known for. I looked through their wine list and I picked the Riesling that was like the highest rated by Wine Spectator or whatever. And then right before it came, I realized that it was a sweet dessert wine. Yeah.
I mean, it was good.
It was good.
But it wasn't what I was looking for. And I was really kicking myself that I didn't notice it until right before it was delivered.
Yeah, it was like an Old Vines Riesling, which was what was exciting. But there was another Old Vines Riesling that was dry or
drier. Yeah.
Yep.
From Weimar, not directly from Weimar. Don't worry, we didn't do all of these wineries in one day.
It was over a few days.
From Weimar, we went to almost the opposite end of the spectrum, to a place that was doing a lot of very innovative, kind of new techniques, and that was Red Tail Ridge.
Yeah, this place was super cool. This is definitely one of the top ones I would recommend if you like innovative winemaking, if you like sort of convention being stood on its head. So they had an amazing sparkling red. We love a sparkling red. It was definitely inspired by Lambrusco. And again, we've talked, if you listen to this podcast, you know that Lambrusco is not synonymous with Riuniti necessarily. There is high quality Lambrusco, and this is like that. They had several pet nats. We just talked about pet nat in the wine break. And so like several different pet nats, right? They were experimenting with some new grapes. They had Dornfelder, which is a grape that I haven't really had an expression of that I love, honestly, but like they were trying it, which was cool. I don't know. Was there anything else you remember? What was that Riesling they poured at the beginning? That was a pet nat.
Yeah, it was Riesling.
It was a Riesling pet nat. Yeah, this was very cool.
Yeah, this was the one that like after that I was like, this was all amazing.
Yeah.
There was not anything I had here that I was like, that was gross.
Yeah. Oh, their reds. This was the other thing. I had a couple of reds at the bottom of their list that were both Northern Italian inspired, and they were both very different, and they were both very good. Like really nuanced flavor that you wouldn't expect in a cool climate winery like that. It was just like, I don't know, like the combination of whatever they're doing to grow and whatever they're doing to make wine is really special.
And I should mention that Weimar and Red Tail Ridge, and also the next one that we're going to talk about, Billsboro, are all in the middle of the west side of Seneca.
Yeah, and Billsboro is even almost towards Geneva. It's really more on the north side. But we've had a lot of luck on Seneca with sort of that quadrant. From Geneva down on the west side of the lake to about halfway are a lot of our favorites.
So when we were planning on visiting Billsboro, which is the next one we're going to talk about, I was looking at their tasting options, and for I think it was like $10 more per person, we could do a guided tasting with the winemaker, and we all decided that sounded amazing.
Yeah.
So last minute, we booked that, and it ended up being a private tasting, just the four of us, with the winemaker. And I want to say were we the first ones, or maybe like
I think it was like the first weekend.
Yeah, it was one of the first times he had ever done that. They had a really cool charcuterie laid out for us with all local stuff. And it was just an amazing experience. If you are in the Seneca Lake area and you want a really personalized, really special wine experience, I would highly recommend you do that winemaker tasting at Billsboro.
Yeah, the price was really reasonable. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I think it was $25 and the regular tasting was $15.
Yeah, so that was incredibly reasonable. And to get to ask the winemaker questions, he's had a really storied career too. First in Long Island, which is another wine region, and then in the Finger Lakes for a long time now. He's been there. He's made wine for multiple wineries, and Billsboro is his own. He owns the property as well as being the winemaker there. And I got to ask all kinds of questions, which was great. I'm sure too, Billsboro and these other wineries we're mentioning, like we obviously bought wine when we were there, so they will definitely come up in future wine breaks. They had a wine called Uba that I really loved. That's like a chillable red. I'm really into these chillable reds too. These like super light bodied reds that are like almost like white wines, but they have more of the flavor of a red wine, and you chill them. Yeah. And then Billsboro has a lot of other classics too. Really good wine.
So at that tasting, he was talking about another winery that was doing some very inventive things. And so we headed to 680 Cellars.
680 blew my mind. And we just got glasses there because we had already been that day to Red Tail Ridge and Billsboro, and so we weren't going to do another tasting. But that place was crazy. So the thing that I got really excited about is they are using these terracotta, they're like egg-shaped terracotta vats. Terracotta winemaking is so cool to me. I'm so excited by it. It's a very unique process, but it's also a very ancient process, possibly the most ancient winemaking process. We don't know that for sure, obviously, but most scholars believe winemaking started in the area of Georgia and the Caucasus Mountains, and the process there, for as long as anyone has known it to be, has been to make it in these terracotta vats under the ground. This egg shape is, at least allegedly, a Leonardo da Vinci invention. It's one of those things that da Vinci sketched out but never actually made. There were a lot of those. Like he invented a helicopter or whatever too, right? But that was cool because when we were in Sicily, when we went to Palmetto Costanza, was that the one? Yeah. They had just gotten this same thing, these like terracotta egg-shaped things, and we saw them there, and I was excited to go see that. So we went there, and they had lots of crazy wine. The thing that I had was they had taken Cabernet Franc and done the Amarone process. I can't remember the name of that process, but the process that they use for Amarone, where they partially dehydrate the grapes and then make wine that way. And I said to our server, are you going to do the ripasso too, which is what they do with Valpolicella ripasso. They take those, like the pomace from that wine, and they make another wine using it. And she said, yes, they were going to do that. And I was like, where are we right now? What is happening? And it made me so excited for that place, but also so excited because I feel like what we saw happening in the Finger Lakes a few years ago is what we see happening in Michigan right now. This is just my take as an informed amateur, is that Michigan is just like a few years behind Finger Lakes in terms of the innovation and development. And I am so excited too, not only for the Finger Lakes, a region that I love, but my hope that my beloved Michigan wine regions are only a few years from some of this absolutely crazy innovative winemaking that's so wild and out of left field.
And something interesting too about 680 is they also were making their own spirits.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think there was, I won't go into them all, but they had quite a few spirits, and I think they also had beer and cider. So if you're not necessarily a wine person, there are even things here for you. And they had wine cocktails. They had all kinds of crazy stuff going on there.
They had a beautiful view too of Cayuga Lake. It was a little cold. We sat outside. It was a little cold, but I can guarantee, because like I said, it was the end of the day. We didn't want to do a full tasting or a full flight, but I can guarantee that's going to be next time one of the primary ones we go and spend more time at.
Yeah. The last winery that we visited is another one of the pioneers in the area, and that is Dr. Constantine Frank, which we visited Dr. Frank on our last visit to this area. And it's so weird to say that we visited Dr. Frank. It's like we went to a medical doctor. Dr. Frank was the person that brought the Vitis vinifera to the New York region.
Yes.
He was a doctor of enology from Ukraine.
Yes.
So once again, another very old wine tradition that he brought to this area of the U.S.
Yeah, he has this amazing story where he came over with no money and worked as a dishwasher in New York City, didn't speak English, scraped up enough money and probably spent enough time that he was able to form some connections. Started working at Cornell. Cornell's viticulture station is in Geneva. And there was definitely grape growing in the region prior to Frank, but he brought the vinifera, which is the European grapes that you all are familiar with, and scouted the sides of these lakes, trying to find what he believed was the absolute optimal property for things like airflow, soil quality. And he found this property on Keuka Lake, and it's still there. It's still run by the Frank family. I think Megan Frank now is
it the fourth generation? Is that right?
I think so. I think she's the head honcho these days. And this is another one like Weimar, where it's more of a traditional Finger Lakes experience, as you would expect from really the first major winery in the Finger Lakes. But they have some really amazing, really high quality wine. And the Old Vines Pinot Noir is a really special one, because these are the oldest vines in the eastern United States that are producing grapes for wine.
We also really like their Saperavi. It's a really good one. And for a white, they have, and I might be saying this wrong, Arcatzatelli.
Yeah. People usually say Arcatzatelli or Racatzatelli. I've heard it both ways, but this is a white grape. There were, though, in this tasting, and I don't remember the names of them because they weren't the names of grapes. They had given these wines names, but some of the last couple wines in the tasting, they were very expensive wines. These were like $70 to $100 a bottle, these last couple in the tasting. Just probably some of the best wine I've ever had. Just truly outstanding. That was not really the price range I was going for that day, so we didn't pick any up. But it's just, like that wine can compete with any wine, I think. It's really high quality.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend a stop at Dr. Frank if you are visiting this area for wine.
If you're interested in the history of winemaking in North America, it's like a pilgrimage. It's one of those, it's just one of those places you have to go see.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about the wine of the Finger Lakes region before we move on?
This has become a wine episode.
The second half.
But no, there's a lot more we could talk about. There are other wineries in that region, others even that we like, but those are the main highlights of this trip.
So we're going to talk a little bit about dining, and unlike some of our other trips, this was a camping trip, so we brought a kitchen with us.
Yes.
So we didn't do as much dining as we sometimes do, but we're going to touch on, I've got 3 things written, 3 places that we visited that we wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So the first one was in Montour Falls, that cool little town I talked about that ended in a waterfall, and it is called Althea's Finger Lakes Tavern, and it was like a cool kind of hidden gem. I guess I would say hidden gem kind of bar.
I think it's just like a local place.
Yeah. And they had really good burgers. And I'm sure if we weren't about to go do a bunch of wine tasting, they probably have a lot of beer and stuff like that.
I had a burger. This might sound gross to you, but it was good, I promise. I had a burger that had fried mozzarella sticks on it and spicy grape jelly. That was wild. In truth, though, the grape jelly wasn't that spicy.
I saw that on the menu and I was like, Chris is going to get this.
Yeah, it was good.
I just knew it. Like, this is so strange. It's a strange combination. It's totally up your alley.
Yeah.
I had a burger that had beer cheese on it and some bacon, too. I think. That was really good.
You're a big fan of beer cheese.
I am a big fan of beer cheese. And I feel like, what did we have? Oh, fried mushrooms for appetizer, which is always delicious. Yep. So like that really good kind of classic bar food in this kind of local place was pretty good.
That was good.
We also stopped in Watkins Glen at another, I wouldn't say this is a local place because it's not that far from the parking for the Gorge Trail. So I'm sure they get quite a few tourists in there. But it was called the Holy Cow Deli.
Yeah. This maybe was my favorite place of the whole trip.
Oh.
I think, unless I'm forgetting something.
Those were the 2 main restaurants.
Yeah.
Was it better than the spaghetti that we ate off of the camp stove? I mean,
that was fine. But no, so I had a pastrami sandwich.
And I had
a Reuben. Yeah. It was so good. It was so good and really reasonably priced. And also we didn't buy anything, but they had an amazing meat counter. Like next time I think we camp, I would just maybe buy some of those giant steaks and cook those.
It didn't help that somebody was grilling a steak when we were there, and like you were so obsessed with steaks for like days afterwards.
I know. I really wanted one. I always want to cook steaks while camping though, because it's so easy. Like it's the easiest thing to cook while you camp. You just put it in a pan and flip it over and that's it.
Are you saying pad thai was not easy?
No, pad thai is a lot more work.
Yes, we ate pad thai at the campsite.
It's not as difficult as it sounds. It's a cheater recipe and a lot of the stuff is prepped in advance, but it's still definitely more work.
I can put the link in the show notes if any of you are interested in camp stove pad thai.
Yeah.
From a website that I love called Fresh Off the Grid.
They have great recipes.
They have really good camping and like backpacking recipes. But anyway, that wasn't the point of this episode.
Yeah.
The other place that we went that I wasn't expecting and absolutely blew me out of the water was, I'm guessing it's called Scooteri's Cannoli Connection.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the best cannoli I've ever had in the U.S.
Best cannoli I've ever had on this continent.
I'm not going to say it's better than the one that we ate in Taormina. That's like the best cannoli in Sicily.
That we've had, which is probably not even the best in Sicily.
That's
but
true.
It was.
But I feel like they may have been invented in the Taormina area. Anyway, doesn't matter because we're not talking about Sicily right now. But they dipped the shells in chocolate at this place. Oh, and also one thing I loved about this place was like you go up to the counter and you order a cannoli. Your choice is regular shell or dipped in chocolate. That's it. Mm-hmm. Because all of them are filled with the same thing, which was just a ricotta with chocolate chip mixture. And I just love the simplicity of that because I feel like so many places try to do too much.
Yeah.
I mean, they also had a bakery with some other things. Well, and pizza, weirdly.
Yeah. And if you ever go to a place that's selling these and they're pre-filled, no. So this place was good because they filled it as you order it.
They filled it as you order it, and then you eat it almost immediately, and so it doesn't get soggy like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend if you're in the area to go to Scooteri's. They're closed, I want to say Sunday, Monday, Tuesday or something like that, so it makes it tricky. We got there. Luckily, I remembered that I wanted to go on Saturday, or it would have been very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we went not long before they closed.
Yeah. And their pizza smelled good, too. All right. So that is a recap of our time in the Finger Lakes area. We would love to know if we missed your favorite winery, especially in the area. Yeah. Are there any restaurants in the Finger Lakes that we missed? Let us know in the comments. Yeah, it's one of our favorite places, so we definitely recommend that you check it out.
Yes, definitely. That's all for today's episode of Go See Do Explore. Thanks for joining us in sharing the wonder of travel.
If you want more from each episode, head to GoSeeDoExplore.com, where you'll find blog posts, resources, and extras from our travels.
You can also reach us anytime at podcast@GoSeeDoExplore.com. We love hearing from you.
And if you'd like to support the show, check out GoSeeDoExplore.com/support.
We've got subscriber levels that unlock benefits like our full trip itineraries and notes, a private Discord for travel chat, and even postcards and souvenirs from our adventures.
Don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It helps more travelers like you find us.
Until next time, I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh.
Keep exploring, keep discovering, and we'll see you out there.